grinding every day. Long hours, no backup, no accountability. That ends now. The Empower Solopreneur Mastermind gives you one simple advantage: a weekly power session that turns isolation into domination. Every Friday morning on Zoom, you'll get real coaching and real feedback to make real moves. Join a group of driven professionals in a program designed for solopreneurs and people working at home. Stop getting stuck. Start scaling. Seats are limited. Lock in yours today at modernobserver.com/empower-mastermind.
An attack on Jews in Australia and a shooting at Brown University lead off a violent weekend, plus an executive order on AI and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. A mass shooting during a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia on Sunday evening left at least 16 people dead and 29 people hospitalized, authorities say. The annual celebration, known as Hanukkah by the Sea, was scheduled to kick off at 5 p.m. to celebrate the first day of the Jewish holiday by lighting the first candle on the menorah. Police say the attack targeted the Jewish community and is being investigated as an act of terrorism. The New South Wales Police Force said officers responded to reports of shots fired at about 6:45 p.m. on Sunday. Police say there were at least 2 gunmen involved in the attack, and they are investigating the possibility of a third. 16 people were killed in the shooting, including one of the 2 suspected gunmen, police said. The second alleged shooter is in critical condition. At least 29 others were hospitalized after the shooting, including 2 police officers, the agency confirmed. The shooting is the worst attack against Jews since the October 7, 2023 Hamas terror attacks. The suspects, believed to be father and son, aged 50 and 24, began firing on the crowd with rifles from a footbridge during the Hanukkah by the Sea event. Together, the 2 men legally owned 6 firearms despite Australia's strict gun laws. Beachgoers fled the scene as the attack continued for 20 minutes, with the gunman reloading and firing multiple times. The massacre was disrupted by Muslim fruit stand owner Ahmad al-Ahmad, age 43, who snuck up behind, tackled, and disarmed 1 gunman, despite suffering 2 gunshot wounds in the process. President Donald Trump warned Saturday that there will be very serious retaliation after a lone Islamic State gunman in Syria killed 2 U.S. Army soldiers and a U.S. interpreter in an ambush attack. Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell announced earlier that the soldiers and interpreter were targeted in the central Syrian town of Palmyra in an attack that left 3 others wounded. U.S. Central Command added that the deaths and injuries were a result of an ambush by a lone ISIS gunman in Syria. We mourn the loss of 3 great American patriots in Syria, 2 soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter. Likewise, we pray for the 3 injured soldiers who, it has just been confirmed, are doing well. This was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria, in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them, Trump wrote on Truth Social. The president of Syria, Ahmad al-Sharaa, is extremely angry and disturbed by this attack. There will be very serious retaliation, he added. On Saturday afternoon, a gunman opened fire during a final exam review for a Principles of Economics class at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, killing at least 2 students and injuring 9 others. The mayor of Providence said in a news briefing yesterday that not all the shooting victims' family had been reached at that time, as some were traveling, and that victims' identities would not be released publicly until proper notification was made. Yesterday evening, federal agents detained a person of interest at a Hampton Inn hotel 20 miles south of Providence, whom they later released. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Naranjo said that evidence now points in a different direction and that the investigation would proceed very carefully after the original person of interest's name was leaked to the public. In a statement last night, Brown University said, local police have advised they do not believe there is any immediate threat to Brown or the local community. Narges Mohammadi, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, was beaten and arrested in Iran on Friday while addressing a crowd in the city of Mashhad, according to her family. If they intend to hurt her, I don't see any positive outcome, says Hamad Reza Mohammadi, a brother speaking to Time magazine from Oslo. The biggest concern I have is her health. Mohammadi, age 53, has been on medical furlough from an Iranian prison for the last year. She had resumed the activism for which the Nobel Committee awarded her the 2023 Peace Prize, advocating in interviews and small groups for women's rights, the release of political prisoners, and, as she wrote for Time last week, a peaceful transition from Iran's brutal regime to an electoral democracy. President Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that seeks to block AI regulation by individual states, saying it would create a single federal regulatory framework and keep the U.S. at the forefront of the tech. The order authorizes the Attorney General to sue over state AI restrictions and tells federal regulators to withhold funds for projects like broadband from states with such laws. The move was controversial as Republicans had opted against including clauses barring state-level AI rules in recent legislation. And it may not even deter states from moving ahead with their rules, especially because the order is likely to face a court challenge. Cannabis stocks rallied Friday after news outlets reported that President Trump plans to ease federal restrictions on marijuana. The Washington Post reported that the president was preparing an executive order that would facilitate moving marijuana from its current Schedule I status, which puts it in the same category as heroin and LSD, to a Schedule III substance, a group that includes Tylenol with codeine and some hormone treatments. Sources told CNBC the order could come Monday. While the change would not legalize weed, it would make it more available for research and allow cannabis companies to get more investment. Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were stabbed to death in their home on Sunday. Reiner, the son of legendary comedian Carl Reiner, rose to fame playing Mike Stivic on the sitcom All in the Family, and went on to direct a string of classics, including This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. Reiner was also active in politics. That's the Raw Naked Truth for December 15th, 2025. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.